Hello, everyone. Welcome to round two presentation. My name is Lisette Diaz. I'm a member of the cohort one districts from Ontario Montclair School District. And I am super excited to introduce to you our next presentation. It is given by Riverside Unified School District, and it's featuring University Heights Middle School. So with that, I'd like to give a big shout out and welcome to Riverside Unified School District. Woo! Welcome.
So good morning, I'm Katie Grimble. I'm the principal at University Heights Middle School, and I am going to start us off this morning. So thank you for coming to our presentation. So who are we? We are Riverside Unified School District and University Heights Middle School, and our team here, so I'm not going to introduce everybody by name, but just want to emphasize we do have a really broad team, and one of the benefits has been really consistency in terms of leadership across the district and specifically at the site, which has really made a big impact on consistency of programs and our ability to implement things with fidelity for a period of time that will actually make a difference. So for example, as the principal at University Heights, I've actually been at this site for 8 years, as principal 3 and then 5 before that as an assistant principal. So I've really had a chance to get to know the culture and the community, and which enables us as a whole school community to make a bigger impact. And then our other team members will introduce themselves as they speak. So a little bit about Riverside Unified. We're the 16th largest district in California. We have 50 schools going from pre-K through 12th grade, and then we also have an adult school. We do have almost 70% of our students are socioeconomically disadvantaged. We have a high population of English learners, as well as students with disabilities. And about 5% of our students are homeless. University Heights Middle School is a little bit different. Our demographics look different than the district as a whole. We've got about 850 students. We're a 7-8 school. 94% of our students are socioeconomically disadvantaged. We're the highest secondary school in terms of that metric. We do have about 22% English learners, and about 6% of our students are homeless. Our race and ethnicity breakdown as well. We are a predominantly Hispanic school with a good portion of African-American students as well. And I believe we're the highest percentage secondary school in the district for that as well. And then I'm going to introduce our Assistant Superintendent of Equity, Access, and Community Engagement to take us from here.
Thank you, Katie, and good morning, everyone. That is certainly a mouthful of a division. So I'll touch on that in a moment because it's a newer division. So it's part of our story and kind of one of the earmarks of what makes us kind of different on our equity journey as a district. So one of the key pieces and what you see there is that our Board of Education is pretty innovative. And they really put forth a mission, and that's what you see right there in the gray box, and values that point directly to equity, that point directly to calling out our achievement and opportunity gap for students and families. And as Katie shared, our district really spans lots of different neighborhoods and lots of different student and family populations. So so you understand that the board really has set that tenor of delving deeply into the tenets of equity, as well as using our resources out in the community to harness and bring that back into our school sites. So about 4 years ago, the district put forth a call to action, and it was our Board of Education and our Superintendent, David Hansen, to address the equity and opportunity gap across our schools. And so we put forth and built an equity task force. This has been a very important part of our journey in solidifying and putting systems in place for our students and families and staff, is that we have this body of cross-community, there's university partners, there's community activism groups, staff, students, family and parent associations that sit on this task force. And through that, we created an equity definition. Equity is tossed around, the word itself, it's tossed around a lot. And that's why we felt we needed to norm that for our entire system. So we put forth this definition, crafting the definition as well as what you see in those 4 boxes, tenets. And these are very aspirational, but some of our continued work, and when we get to that towards the end of the presentation, is really measuring, having a way for us to measure as a system, as a school site, as principals and teachers, where are we on the continuum to implement this, eliminate disparities in equitable practices, implement inclusive practices and policies. Because what we recognize in a district this large, it is not the sole responsibility of one person, but it needs to come from every single principal and every single teacher to build out that system in an equitable way. We really are going through a 4-prong approach. Equity and bridging that for students is really, it's 4 arms. It's the policies and systems that we have in place, some that are already not set up to provide as much access to students and needing to address that. It's the professional learning that happens for all staff. So for principals, for teachers, for all staff in our schools, having them with a very good understanding of race, ethnicity, implicit bias, microaggressions, et cetera. Culture and climate is huge. That is how we're welcoming and ensuring that students and families are feeling welcome on every single campus and when they walk into district office and into departments. And this last arm, which is so valuable and it's so important for our USD because of all of the relationships that we have in the city and how involved our community partners are in our school, that we realized this needed to be a part of how we move the district forward on our equity journey. Few things that we're addressing as an entire system is delving deeply into our equity related policies. Some of that, our board put forth a resolution for ethnic studies, racism as a public health crisis. We also put forth hate-based behavior administrative regulation to provide supports for schools and guidance on how to address that on campus. Also admin regs for students who are transgender and non-binary to make sure that our staff has really good understanding what that means and how to address that on campuses. Connections to LCAP and funding formula. If any of you are in school systems right now, it is LCAP season, and ensuring that our dollars intended for our unduplicated students are reaching our students directly and that our actions and services deliver that directly. Equity audits. This got cut short a little bit for COVID, but this entails really going deeply into either our policies or some of our practices and what our classrooms look like, and having that honest conversation on campuses of how do we bridge that and make us really meet those 4 tenets that we shared earlier. Hiring practices. This is an interest of the board, our Board of Education, as well as internally to ensure that our staff looks like our families and our students of the city. Culture and climate. This became very loud and clear from our students and our families in that it is important for our everyone to feel welcome when they come onto campus. So you'll just see a few examples of that we're working through, as well as continuing to work through even during virtual setting this year, of ensuring that we have student voice. And there's lots of avenues that have arisen through this year of how students are actively engaged and sharing their thoughts on different items, and ensuring that we have an inclusive work environment so employees are feeling welcome when they come onto campuses, and engaging in some synergy student culture events where students have a safe space to be able to talk about high profile topics as we begin to open and enter in-person instruction soon. And this is where I just wanted to spend a little bit of time, and that is the community engagement arm. Through our relationships with our parent associations, our equity task force, which really is an input and feedback mechanism for us as a district, is really allowing us to reflect on practices and ensuring that we're meeting the needs of students and families. And so what you see are just a few things that we set up, like I shared, the equity task force. We have instilled some practices around listening sessions and working that through our parent groups and our student groups, and also doing that with employee groups as well. Really tacking on our community partners, which will be addressed a little later in the presentation, instilling a system to regularly inform and meet with our community leaders that are local to our USD, to inform them and share with them all the things that are going on, as well as doing equity walks. And that has been very eye-opening for a lot of staffs, to especially this year, as principals and school teams were engaging in home visits, and being able to connect directly with families in their homes, and being able to bridge that and bring resources to them. This arm of our equity work is huge. We cannot do this work alone, and this is a great segue for Ms. Alonso to be able to elaborate a little bit more on our community engagement.
Thank you, Jackie. Good morning, everybody. Gabriela Alonso, I'm the coordinator for School, Family, and Community Partnerships. And if ever family engagement has mattered, it's mattered in the last 13 months. Everyone on this call has a unique role in their districts to support family engagement. And we've been in the trenches for 13 months. So we've been there with families to celebrate accomplishments, to celebrate celebrations, but we've also been there to grieve with families. We've had families going through a lot of losses, the loss of normalcy, the loss of being able to connect with family members, with schools, their communities. But we've also seen a lot of challenges in our community with loss of employments, and then loss of loved ones and family members. So we've been there with families connecting. So the relationships that we have built with our families throughout the years have mattered, and they matter now, and they matter because of the work that we do. So I want to just take a moment to thank everyone on this call who's doing the work of family engagement, because it does matter. So a little bit about our Family Resource Center. So I have the pleasure of working with the team of dynamic staff. We are a small team, but we are a mighty and impactful team that supports our 50 schools and our district with family engagement. We understand that cultivating relationships with families is fluid, and that we really need to develop those trusting relationships, that we work on two-way communication, and that we're partnering with families to support student success. And these are the keys to family engagement. As a Family Resource Center, we focus on 3 areas, and that is family wellness to remove barriers to learning. And that's that one-on-one, making sure that we're connecting with families, that we're assessing their needs, that we're coordinating resources, whether they're internal or through community partnerships, so that those needs of the families are met, so the kids are ready to learn and thrive. And then education and leadership development. I see a lot of our partners are on this call, and we have Moreno Valley and Valverde also as part of cohort 2, and we share a lot of our partners. So we know how important it is to make sure that our families are connected to resources within our districts, but also within our communities. And those partners have not only stepped up to provide support to our families, but also the education piece. And that's really important in our district, that we're providing families with the knowledge and tools that they need to support their students' wellness, their students' learning, and then their pathways to college and career. And as mentioned, that we're identifying new partners, that we're sustaining our partnerships with our community that support and leverage school and district resources. So as a Family Resource Center, our role is really to support our district with our initiatives and making sure that we're reaching out to different divisions in our departments to ensure that they're facilitating best practices in family engagement, that parent voice is heard, and that we're partnering with families for shared decision making. that we're supporting our district advisories. And as a Family Resource Center, we also lead the work of our annual Family Engagement Summit, our Back to School Resource Fair, and our annual Mental Health Community Walk, which this year looks differently. We are holding a virtual mental health month-long series, and it actually starts tonight with suicide prevention. And we also work really closely with our principals. As a Family Resource Center, we are a service to them. We meet annually with principals. We want to make sure that we're hearing from them. What are their needs of their parent community? And with that knowledge, then we're able to support services that meet their SIPSUP plans, their equity plans, and then we push in parent workshops and academies and supports that meet the specific needs of those schools. We also get referrals to work with families on various challenges that they might be facing from principals and their counselors and teachers. Those connections with teachers and within the last 13 months have been so essential. And we've probably heard from teachers more than we ever have, which we love because the need of the families are there and they are being met through that connection between teacher and home and then teacher and district. So we also have various school sites who have their own parent centers, and we also support the resources and needs of those centers. As a Family Resource Center, we are a district center. We have one center where our team works out of, but we also partner with Riverside City, and we have a center which we call our Satellite Community Center at the Cesar Chavez Community Center, Bobby Bonds Park. And that's where we're in the ground, in the community, providing those services. And we have also partnered with 3 of our high schools to provide family engagement centers at those schools where we staff those centers and provide the resources and parent education. And then supporting our school sites with their family engagement nights, their back to school, their open houses. And for those of you who were in the presentation previous to this with Moreno Valley, you heard a little bit about their Parent Ambassadors program. So as a center, we also have parent ambassadors that support the work of the center. There's 6 staff members in our center that support such a large school district. So we really lean on these parent ambassadors to be our voice, to be the ones connecting in their communities and spreading the word, the message about what's happening at the center, the activities that we're providing, but they're also essential to that peer-to-peer connections with families. When we started with these ambassadors, our focus was our Spanish-speaking families, because as a district, unfortunately, we don't have a translator at each of our schools. And you'll hear a little bit with my colleague Sonia when she talks about our district translation, but our commitment was to make sure that our families, especially our newcomer families, our families from Guatemala, were getting the communication and the support that they needed. And that was happening at the ground levels in their community. So these parents, we have 21 current parents that we call embajadores para el éxito estudiantil, so ambassadors for student success. And they're really on the ground, making sure that families are connected to each other and they're connected to their schools and connected to the center and to the district as a whole. We also work with the network of over 50 community partners. I know there's more, but I would say 50 are the ones that I could pick up the phone and say, this is what I need to support a student and family. And it's never a why, it's always a when and what. We also meet quarterly with all our partners to make sure that they have the knowledge of what's going on in our district, the needs of our community, and how we could support each other in our work. So by identifying new partners, we also make sure that they're not only supporting the district as a whole, but that they're also supporting our schools by adopting them with their different initiatives and supporting our students and families within the school sites. and that we're also part of their community meetings and collaborative. So as a district, I might not be able to, give a community partner $50,000 for their initiative, but I do make sure that I'm in their meetings, that one of my staff members are in their meeting, that they know what's happening in the district, that we are a partner sitting at the table, supporting their collaboratives and advisory meetings, and that we have an opportunity to sit on different advisory boards, so that they understand what's happening at the district level, and that they hear the needs of our families and students. So I just want to talk a little bit about closures and how we had to pivot our services. So as a family resource center, we've been around for 6 years. We're a new program compared to many other districts, but our work was in that face-to-face, in the in-person support to families. And we had to pivot quickly, but we did it, I would say, with not much hiccup. We were already established in providing the support to our families. The only thing that changed was going from face-to-face to now telephone calls, text, emails, Facebook Messenger, and video conference calls with families through FaceTime and Zoom. We found really quickly that Zoom was the best platform to connecting with families, whether it was for one-on-one visits or to provide our programming for webinars and workshops. So unfortunately, the pandemic has magnified barriers for many families. They have experienced financial hardships and many barriers that have affected learning. So as a family resource center, as a district, we prioritize as requests, and we were hearing from families. We categorize these in 3 areas. So the first is the family connections to district and school supports. The next one was family linkages to community resources. And then the last was family connections to peers and community. So we focus on these 3 areas because that's what we were hearing from our community. So more than anything, with shutdowns and people losing their jobs and schools not being open, parks not being open, the things that our students knew were not available to them anymore. So as a resource center, it was really critical for us to make sure that we were connecting with our families, that they knew that they had support still within their school sites and within our district. So we made sure that we had flyers out, that we had information out about the resource center, and we gave it a catchy name, which was, schools may be closed, but support continues. We are still here for you. You could connect with us. You could call us. You could email us. We are still here for you. And some of the areas that parents really needed support with was, of course, the access to devices, hotspots, connections to their teachers in school, support with distance learning, navigating the online applications, even if there were surveys. New families needed support with registration and mail applications, and then just linkages to our own services within our school district with health, counseling, tutoring. Linkages to community resources was essential to make sure that our families still had access to food, that they had access to formula and diapers and rental assistance and medical care and coverage, that they knew where to go get COVID testing, and now with the vaccine, that they understand where they could go get the vaccine, childcare, evictions, and then also connecting them with programs that needed to support their financial stability, which was connections to food stamps and cash aid, unemployment benefits. And unfortunately, we were still receiving those calls and have been a support to our families when they are experiencing hardships such as domestic violence, child abuse, suicide ideation, and then a death of a loved one. So we have been with our families through those challenges and struggles. And as I mentioned, the communication with peers and community was really essential. And I know, I believe my dear friend and director of Parent Institute for Quality Education, Lillian Hernandez, is on this call. And I really want to give her credit because she was one of the partners that I think in March, when we were just trying to figure out how to do this, she was ready. We were in the middle of having 5 parent institutes at different school sites, and right away she came in and said, let's finish these classes. We're going to help your families connect to Zoom. We're going to walk them through them. We're going to do those calls. We're going to do these classes. So we did. And we were really fortunate because we found that families still needed that connection to others. They needed that peer-to-peer support, not only for hearing from us, but they needed each other to get through whatever they were going through. They just needed to feel connected to their community. So we made sure that we still provided them with the education and support that they needed through webinars, through workshops, and then just a space for them to connect with each other as peers, whether there were support groups or just informal gatherings that they could chat with other families. One of the best practices that I like to highlight is the cafecito. So when we were in person, we did have an opportunity. We held them still on Monday, and it was no agenda. Just come in, have coffee with us, tell us what's going on with your family. We'll let you know what resources to connect with. And it was just an informal time to build those communities. But with the pandemic, Susana Zamudio, which is part of my team, she needed to be able to connect with those parent ambassadors. She wanted them to still have an opportunity to know what was going on with their district, to know how we could support them as a center and what other resources were available in our community. So she started holding these Facebook live chats, and it started just with our ambassadors, but the word got out and other families wanted to connect. So live, every Monday, we have about 100 families connecting, but, views, I think by Tuesday evening, Tuesday night, we have about 500 families that are watching this. So it's just a way for us to get the message out. The district does a fantastic job of getting the communication out to families, but this is where we break it down. We break that information down so that families understand what we're talking about. So just wanted to highlight that. And so we're really happy to provide an opportunity for families. I know we gave devices and hotspots to our students, but this program offers families the opportunity to come and learn. And we're doing this virtually right now, but to learn basic computer skills. And at the end of 4 weeks or 8 hours of instruction, they get a refurbished computer from the county of Riverside. So this is a collaboration that we've had with the county for a while, but we hold these monthly. We want to make sure that families have a computer at home. We're asking them to connect with us virtually, but they need a device to do that. And we found that, they just need to call us, tell us they're interested, they need a computer, and we get that to them. So that was just a little bit about what we do as a center and how we support our family, our partners, and our district. So now I'll have my dear friend and colleague, Sonia.
Thank you. My name is Sonia Barron Rodriguez, and I'm a district interpreter translator. And for those that don't know the difference, an interpreter speaks and a translator writes. And actually, we work very closely together with the Family Resource Center and all of our 50 schools, in that all communication that goes out will be translated. It will be translated. Any messages that go out in written form, they're going to be translated. All of the workshops that are held at the Family Resource Center, that are held at our school sites, they are interpreted by one of us. And the picture you see here is the team that we have. Is 3 district interpreter translators at the district office. And we have 22 site interpreter translators at 30 of our schools. And from the district office, we support all 50 of our school sites. We also have ASL interpreters. And so anything and everything that goes out, that is being shared with our families, we want our families to be included, to feel at home. And this is a way for them to be able to communicate. Most of our families, as you've seen presented already, do speak Spanish. And so we have our interpreters. I'm a Spanish interpreter. And so all of our families, they are our most important asset. Our students, they support our students. They are part of our students. That's why we all exist here, right? It's because of our students and our families. And so we provide that bridge for our families to be able to communicate directly with anyone at their school site, with their teachers, at parent education, at the parent conferences, for special education meetings, IEPs. The interpreter is there and available to be able to be that bridge, and for our families and our staff to be able to communicate directly with each other, and then our families are being heard at every turn. And part of what also we do at our district, through the district office, is we provide trainings for our interpreter translators at the school sites, bilingual community assistants, and bilingual staff. Because it's not just enough to be bilingual, we need to make sure that every one of us that provide the service have the skills necessary to be able to provide that interpretation and translation services that are needed. So we provide to the community interpreters a 40-hour program. Some of you on the call have been part of our classes, and because we also do provide it to all of our Inland Empire. And it is for us as interpreter translators to be able to have the skills that we need to provide the services that our families need. And it is, again, very much closely work hand in hand with the Family Resource Center as the voices for our families, for them to be part of our field, part of the district, and very much included. And because of time, we will continue on with Gabriela again.
So just really quickly, like I mentioned, our DLAC president couldn't be with us today. We are doing district-wide family home visits today, so she couldn't be here. But she did want us to share that, as DLAC and PTA and our African American Advisory Committee, they are working as a united front. It is not just, DLAC's doing this, PTA is doing that. They have come together and are really unified the forces to make sure that their voices are heard. They meet monthly as a team with our superintendent. They present monthly, to the board, and then that they're unifying their voices also to support the advisories at the site level, and are targeted to support to our heritage and legacy program that support our African American community and our English learners.
So as we made mention, part of the shift also in delivery and how we can support our staff is also through our professional learning arm of our equity efforts. So you'll just see a few things that even during COVID, we have been able to provide some asynchronous modules for staff to participate in, again, addressing the mindset shift for staff to really embrace and create that inclusive environment for students. There's just a list of some shifts that took place from a district level in order to support our schools. Again, lessons learned all throughout the pandemic from when we first started throughout is just the pivoting that needed to take place from departments to continue to deliver service back to families. So I'll hand it off to Mrs. Grimble to elaborate on what happened at the school site.
Like I said at the beginning, I've been at University Heights for 8 years, and our priority really has been throughout that time engagement of our students, our families, and our community. And to us, they're all one program. So we worked really hard to make sure that we're not addressing engagement or academics or student behavior as three different things. They're all part of a comprehensive program that we call the Uniway. So it's a little cheesy, but it keeps us from focusing in on, I can only do so many things. That's completely accurate. So when we create it as a comprehensive program, then it's less overwhelming for staff and students and parents and community members, but it also helps people see the connections between all of the different elements. So our parent engagement coordinator is going to talk a little bit about some of the parent and student engagement things that we do.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kelsey Newton. Like Ms. Grimble said, I'm a teacher and parent engagement coordinator at University Heights Middle School. And I know we're rushed for time, so I'm just going to highlight some of the exciting programs that we have going on to promote this positive culture and climate for our students. So our hope is that as students walk in, that they feel loved, they feel accepted, and that they belong. And so we have an extensive list of opportunities for students to be a part of mentoring programs. So every year we have a young men's and ladies mentoring program where they learn about different skill sets, and there's a cumulative celebration at the end of the year where they get to invite their families, their different community members, people that spoke into their lives to participate and see their growth. We have wellness groups going on throughout the year run by our counselors and a SAP counselor that we have full-time on campus to address different needs of our students. We have a hero program where students are rewarded for positive behavior, where they can redeem for rewards. And in an effort for students to explore their different strengths and interests, we have a wide list of clubs and activities they can choose from that's built into our school day. We are a school-to-home school, which means that we are part of a program that seeks to close the achievement gap and the digital divide. So part of that, our students are given a device, but it's not specifically for our students. The goal is to also create digital literacy amongst our families. So we have a lot of opportunities where parents are trained up in those skill sets, that we have a family resource room where we have a full-time interpreter and translator on campus and a bilingual community assistance to address the different needs of our families, whether it be filling out job applications. We have a uni closet where we have food and clothes for families in need. Several workshops, classes, digital literacy or financial literacy classes, and parent-led organizations as well. I hope I did that in record time.
So in the interest of time, and so you can hear for 2 minutes from one of our community partners, I'm just going to let you see that we have a lot of community partners, and our goal is not just to have our students experience activities in the community or have the partners give back to our students, but it's to have our students have that experience of contributing back to their community as well. And so I would like you to hear a little bit from Project Bridge, from Ron Delstead, who's our Project Bridge representative, which is one of our community partners, not just at University Heights, but at the district level as well.
Thank you. You can hear me. I just wanted to touch bases with the collaboration we have with Uni and RUSD. Our program is geared towards teens. We are under the Park and Rec umbrella with the city of Riverside. Our site here at the Teen Center is here at the same site where the Parent Resource Center is at as well. So here we also have this program for the teenagers 12 to 18. So just host a variety of life skills classes, women's groups, youth advisory boards, just different type of strategies to engage the youth within the center, within the community, different just different programs and projects throughout our especially on this site, whether it's the murals. We had a youth advisory board with where they had the teams established presidency and also vice president, treasurer, and the kids really got to experience some type of a way where they even got to learn how to use a cash register, and also get to meet with the board as well. Just here the diagram, just talking about the youth, the different resources we try to connect them with. After school hours, during, we work a lot with the teachers, so we're engaged with them, knowing a lot of the similar students and what's going on.
So in closing, in our last 30 seconds, 2 key takeaways, not only from our journey from pre, but also during COVID, is just the value and the importance of family and student voice in our actions and services that are delivered back out, and the importance of our community partnership. So I think for every district, it is a journey to come to this place and what the district values and what will absolutely maximize resources back out to back to our families, but for us, really seeing the importance of the voice of students and families, and also the importance of how community partners can bridge that as well. So with that, that concludes our presentation in rapid time. So thank you so much.